So hello and welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us once again. After some of you have been on this journey since the month of January, and now here we are in the month of July at our final call as an entire group before the start of the high-level political forum on sustainable development. In case there is anyone who is joining us for the first time today, my name is Teresa Blumenstein, and I am the coordinator of the Justice Coalition of Religious, and have been facilitating this series of training sessions and meetings in preparation for the 2024 High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. And I'm very pleased to have all of you here once again to make our final preparations to participate either online or in person in the upcoming UN HLPF on sustainable development, in which, of course, we will be hearing the progress reports toward the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals from many of the nations that you all come from. So I'm excited for this final session together, and we will begin today, as we always do, with a short opening prayer. Let us pray. God of gladness, God of generosity, you see the difficult work of caring for those who are excluded and suffering. You know the frustration of listening to those who are meant to be our leaders, telling incomplete stories about our communities, and ignoring or failing to see the challenges that remain. And yet, you are the one who calls us to be caregivers to each other. You inspire us to serve. You fire our hearts with compassion for those who suffer. You choose us to be bearers of your healing love. Strengthen our resolve to seek and speak the truth. Sharpen our minds so that we may speak it clearly and compassionately. Give us glad and generous hearts that we may join with our sisters, our brothers, our colleagues in loving community who support us as we support others in need. Amen. So with that, we are ready to jump into our final session and discussion in preparation for the forum itself that we have been looking forward to and anticipating all year in our journey together. And so in our time together today, we will discuss not only preparations for the forum, which is beginning just next week, but we will also talk about preparations for our own follow-up discussions and sessions, which we will have the week of July 22nd, which you have been hearing about under the name the JCoR SDG Lab, or ODS Lab, or ODD Lab, depending on your language. So we will, in preparation for those lab sessions, we will review the schedule for them. We will continue to finalize the list of who will speak in which session, which again is that form that I put into the chat box, those links there. That's the primary way that you will designate yourself for a particular session. We will go over some tips and recommendations for you as speakers during these lab sessions. And we will also review together where you can find the written report that your government has submitted to the United Nations, which is now available online. And then we will also talk, of course, about the HLPF itself. We will look at the important pieces of the program schedule for the forum. We will talk about where you can find those sessions and those meetings online. And then we will also show you where you can find some recommended events that are not a part of the primary program or the main program. And we'll also offer some guidance about how you can also follow the proceedings of the forum on social media channels. So first, we'll talk about the lab. Once again, here, this may be very familiar to you by now, but in case it is not, or you would just like a reminder, this is the schedule for our JCoR SDG Lab. And as you can see, we have one session happening each day from the 22nd of July to the 26th. And each day will be dedicated to one of the 5 themes of this year's high-level political forum. So this 22nd, the session on the 22nd of July will be dedicated to SDG number 1, which is to eradicate extreme poverty. The session on Tuesday, the 23rd of July, will be dedicated to SDG number 2, which is to end hunger and promote sustainable agriculture. The session on Wednesday, the 24th of July, will be dedicated to SDG number 13, which is to take action in response to the climate crisis. The session on the 25th of July, the Thursday, will be dedicated to SDG number 16, which is good governance, peace building, and strong public institutions. And finally, the session on Friday, the 26th of July, will be dedicated to goal number 17, which is partnerships that support all of the SDGs, all of sustainable development. And each of these sessions will take place at the same time each day. It will be at the same time as this call. So just to maybe have an easier way of remembering it in your mind, whatever time you join this call today, that's the same time that these sessions will be on the week of July 22nd to 26th. And if you happen to be in the Eastern time zone of the US, that is 9 o'clock in the morning. But if you need to double check, look for 9 a.m. New York time and see what time that is for you. And there are now links available to register for each of these sessions individually. So they're here on this slide, and they are also in a whole package of recommended events that we are sharing with the JCoR network, and which I will show you in a few minutes. So this is not the only place that you can find them, but I want you to know that they exist and to say that there is one separate link for each session. So if you intend to participate or to at least listen and attend all 5 of them, be sure that you click on each of those links and register for them separately. And as with our own training sessions, we will have 4 languages available for these lab sessions: English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. And similarly to these sessions as well, we will record the events and we will share them on the YouTube channel of JCoR after they're finished. But one important difference between these meetings that we have been having together and the SDG Lab sessions is that they will be open to a larger audience. So they are really open to anyone who is interested in hearing from you, hearing about your observations, your critiques, in your reflections with regard to these various aspects of sustainable development in your respective countries. So that means that you are very much encouraged to invite members of your congregations, friends of yours, partners that you work with. Anyone is welcome to register and attend these lab sessions to learn not only from you, but from the other delegates who have been participating in this program and preparing for this forum together. And as a reminder, you as a JCoR delegate are asked to participate in at least one session of the lab as a speaker during that session. So there are a few different ways that you can approach your comments or your presentation for that session. You could choose to offer your own observations with regard to the selected sustainable development goal, or a critique as you see it of how much progress your nation has made toward achieving that goal. A second approach you could take is to critique specifically the report that your government has submitted to really assess the specific points or facts or presentation of the reality that is included in your government's voluntary national review report, and say, you know, this is how it's reflecting my experience, this is how it differs from my experience, and this is what is absent, this is what is missing from the report. And then a third approach that you could take to your comments or presentation in this session could be simply presenting a ministry project from your own congregation that is contributing towards the chosen SDG in your country. So it could be any project. For example, if you are speaking in the session on goal number 2, which is ending hunger, it could be any ministry project of your congregation that is working toward reducing hunger in your country. And ideally, it is a ministry project that is in your country as opposed to a different country, because we do want to highlight particularly the countries that are reporting this year on their progress, which is why you have been invited as a delegate of that country. So we really would like to hear experiences from your country, not from somewhere else. And of course, we expect you're probably more familiar with a ministry project that you have been involved in, or that is at least happening in the same country where you are. So we want you to speak from a place of your personal experience and your personal expertise. And so I'm just going to pause for another minute or two here. I'm going to put the form into the chat box again, which invites you all to select which session of the lab you would like to speak during. And we'll just take another minute or two for you all to either begin or finish filling out that form. And if anyone has any questions about it, then we can also take some time here to answer those questions. So let me first of all just get that back into the chat box. Okay. So if you did not see it already, you should now see in the chat box 4 different links to a Google form. And you select whichever one is your preferred language. You only need to do one. And within that form, you will see there are several questions asking you about which session you would like to join as a speaker, and also asking you how you will offer your presentation if you are able to attend live and give it live via this same format of this Zoom call, because you have a reliable internet connection, then you will select that option. And if you cannot be certain that you will have a good internet connection that day, then you may select the option that you will record your comments or your presentation in advance and then submit them a few days ahead of your session. And I know quite a few of you have already completed this form, so I thank you for that. Your responses have been received. Are there any questions as people are continuing to work on that form? Are there any questions anyone has about the form itself or about what is being asked of you in your participation in the lab? Yes, Sister Francesca.
Good afternoon, Teresa. Good afternoon, everyone. I wish to know the length of time that would be available if we have a chance to present a statement, some kind of oral information, please. Thank you.
Yes, a very good question. And that will depend in part on how many people are interested in speaking during the same session. But what I can say for sure now is you will have a minimum of 6 minutes to speak. And then it could be as many as 15 if there are very few people who are interested in the same session as you.
Okay.
But what I will do is once we have responses from everyone in the form, I will send an email to everyone who is participating in each session. And that will kind of have the list of speakers for your chosen session. And it will also specify each of you will have this many minutes to speak. And if there are any more questions as well to clarify after that, then we can continue to communicate.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Isabel.
Isabel is talking, she's muted.
Oh, yeah, we cannot hear you, Isabel. Thank you. Thank you for that question. A very good one. So do not worry about removing, if there is a project that is including many different countries, as long as it includes one of the countries that is reporting this year, even one, even if your project is in 20 different countries, but one of them is reporting this year and presenting a voluntary review, then that is okay. And it's also okay to talk about or to include the way that project is happening in other countries as well. Okay. Are there any other questions about how, when, or where to participate in the SDG Lab? Okay. So I will just give another minute of quiet without distractions of conversation for anyone who may still be working on that form. And then we will proceed with the rest of our input after that quiet minute. I will send an email with the final list, but if you request to be in a session, we will make sure you have space in that session. So everyone will have an opportunity in the session that they selected. Thank you, Marta. Yes, Raphael.
Good morning, Teresa, and dear friends. I hope that you're all doing well. I have a question. I'm not sure if I will be able to attend these sessions live because I have to travel to Honduras and sometimes the flights are cancelled. And so is it possible for me to record the presentation so that you show it during the session?
Yes, yes, that would be perfect, Raphael. And if, yes, I mentioned you can record if you are worried about your internet, but if there are other reasons that you think the timing may not work for you and you may not be available to present your comments live, then yes, for any doubt, any reason, you are most welcome to submit a video recording of your comments ahead of the session. That would be wonderful. Thank you. And Sister
Thank you.
Bridget, did I see your hand also?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm that you said we will have access to our country's reports before the lab. Thank you.
Yes, yes. And I know, well, some of them, there are a few that have not yet been posted online, only 3 of them, I think. But I know that for sure they will be there by the time the forum is beginning, which is just next week. So that would be the latest that they would be available. So you would still have a good week, almost 2 weeks, to take a look at what your government has submitted.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Maricruz.
Thank you very much. I have a question about inviting people to these sessions. Are you going to publish a kind of flyer or invitation with a link to pass it along, or how can I invite people? Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Yes, there is, there's a flyer, there is a page on the JCoR website where you can find links for all 5 of the sessions and a short description of the purpose of the event. And I will show you that in just a moment as part of the JCoR guide to the overall forum. Will also include that. So I will show you that in just a few minutes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if there are no more questions about the lab specifically, then I will go ahead with the recommendations for you and the timing of preparing your materials for the sessions. So the first one is if you choose to use any video or images or presentation slides as part of your comments or your presentation, then we ask you to send those to me 3 days before your session. Now, you're not required to have video or photo or presentation slides. That is optional. But if you would like to have any of those things as a way of supporting what you want to say, then please do send those 3 days ahead. And then the other thing that we ask is 3 days ahead, if you have some kind of written text or notes that you would use in your presentation, that you would send those ahead as well. And that is so that our wonderful team of interpreters can have a good sense of what it is that you want to say, and they can be well prepared to present your ideas clearly to everyone who is joining the session. So this text does not need to be the exact words that you will speak, but at least kind of provide a general outline or some basic notes that include the key or primary points that you want to share. And that will be a very big help for the purpose of interpretation in each session. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, if you're worried about whether you will have a stable internet connection or perhaps even electricity on the day of your session, then you are asked to record yourself ahead of time, sharing your comments or your presentation. And that you can do on any camera or phone or computer that you have access to. Anything with a camera will do. And then to send the recording to me 3 days before your session. Then when it comes to the day of the session itself, we ask you to plan to log on to the call 15 minutes before the start time, just so we can all see, that everyone is there, and can make sure that we have our list of speakers, everyone is present. And then just as a way of kind of presenting yourself in the best light, we encourage you to, when you're kind of positioning yourself for the call, try to seat yourself somewhere that has a brighter light in front of you coming toward your face than is coming from behind you. That may not be possible. There may only be one, good, quiet place to join the call, and that is understandable. But if you have some options, try to look for a place where you can have more light in front of you than behind, so that we can see your face clearly when we are listening to you speak. And another good tip that is helpful for setting yourself up is if you're able to place your camera kind of at your own eye level, or even sometimes slightly higher than eye level. That often is kind of the most helpful and natural angle for others to be seeing you. Now, for those who have the option, if you do have access to a computer that you can use to connect to the Zoom room on the day of your session, that is preferable to a phone, just because it tends to offer a more complete and higher quality image. But if a phone is what you have, a phone is great. A phone will do the job, so don't worry. But if you do have access to a computer, that is a better option for the day that you will speak. And please remember, as you join the room, to join the language channel that you prefer, just the same way, exact same way as you did for all of these calls and this session today. And if you do have an internet connection that is strong enough, we will ask you to plan to have your camera on when you are speaking. We understand that, of course, especially if the internet connection is not good, that it's smart to keep the camera off, and that, is always an option. But if you do find that you have a strong enough connection, it's such a much better experience for those who are listening to you to be able to see you at the same time as well. So if if that is an option for you, please do plan to have your camera on when you're speaking. And a note about that is if for any reason you feel that you have some concerns for your personal security or personal safety, where whatever you're sharing in the session, you don't want your own name to be shared, or you don't want your image to be visible for the purpose of safety, please let me know about that ahead of time, and we will be certain that your image is not appearing, and we can put kind of a placeholder, something other than your name will appear on the screen. So if that is a concern for you, don't worry, just communicate that ahead of time, and we will make a plan to be sure that you can feel safe as you share your comments. And then another point, and this, is one you are probably all familiar with by now, is the request that you keep your microphones muted whenever you are not the one who is speaking, which is always helpful for everyone on the call, and especially for interpreters who are already both hearing and speaking at the same time. And on that note, we will ask you to try to keep in mind as you present and as you offer your comments, to always remember that there are going to be 3 people who are interpreting your words as you speak them. And so if you can try to remember to speak slowly and to speak as clearly as possible when you are presenting, that will also help to ensure that our interpreters can convey your messages in the clearest possible way and the most accurate way to everyone who is listening. And to return a bit to the question that Bridget asked earlier about being sure that we are able to find our government reports, if you would like to include your critique of that report as part of your presentation. I can say at this point that almost all of the government reports are now available on the VNR database, which is part of the UN website. And I will, in a moment, put that link into our chat box so you can quickly navigate there. There are 3 that are still missing that we are waiting for, and those are for Equatorial Guinea, for Mexico, and for South Sudan. But all of the other governments, for all of you delegates, all of your other reports are now available online. And I will show you or remind you where you can find those. So here is, let me actually I'm going to pause and get that link for you in the chat box now, so that you can be doing this yourselves while I am talking. Okay, the link that I just put in the chat box will take you to this page of the UN website. So this is the VNR database that I have been talking about. And you can see the link I gave you is specifically shows you just the subset of countries who are reporting this year. But you can see if you choose to alter this selection here on the left-hand side, you are able to see different years, the selection of countries that report each different year. So right now it's set to 2024, which is what we are concerned with. And you will find that on the right side, the main part of the page, are the list of all the countries, all 38 countries that are reporting this year. And so once you have selected 2024 here, you can easily find your own country. And once you do that, you will come to a page that looks like this. So in my example, I have selected Brazil. And you will want to find the heading here that says 2024, because many of the governments have reported in the past for an earlier forum, but we want to find the information for this year's presentation. So you will select the heading. They don't exactly look like they are hyperlinks, but each of these headings with black text, these are links. So if you click on the heading that says Voluntary National Reviews 2024, you will then come to a page that looks something like this. And you will see there are two little boxes with the heading documents. One is on the right side like this, and one is at the bottom of the page down here. And you may need to scroll down in order to see the one at the bottom. But in one or both of these boxes, you will find a link to your government's full VNR, Voluntary National Review report for 2024. And they have slightly different names to what they might use as the title of that link, but it will say something like VNR 2024 or full report 2024. And there will be other links listed there, but what you want is the one that says full VNR or VNR 2024 or full report 2024, something like that title. You will also probably see another link that says main messages. That's a very, very, very short summary of the main ideas that are in the report, but that's not what you are looking for. You want something longer. And I will also say again, as was mentioned in our last session, your government's full report could be 200 pages long, and I do not have any expectation that you are going to read 200 pages of your government report. But most likely the report will be organized by different SDGs. So the way that you might approach reviewing the report would be to look for the section that is dedicated specifically to the SDG that you want to comment on or that you want to focus on. And then really spend your time just on that piece of the report and don't worry so much about the rest. But if you do feel enthusiastic about reading everything that is there, I commend you and admire you for that. And your comments will be even richer if you are able to reflect on multiple pieces of the report. But I understand that most of you have many, many responsibilities, and you may not have a ton of time just for this one task. So if you're looking to be more efficient about the process, just look for the section of the report that really is dedicated to the specific SDG that you will be commenting on in the lab session. let me pause there for a moment and ask if there are any questions or if anyone is having difficulty finding their government's report. Yes, Maria.
I just have one question as I'm concentrating on climate change in Mexico, and not all the reports in there. So they will get all the reports in. This is like a mandatory thing that they will get the reports in. Okay.
Yes, yes. Well, yeah. I mean, it's it's mandatory now because they have committed to it, even if it is a voluntary national review. So yes, and I think last year Canada was reporting, and I think we were maybe 1 or 2 days into the forum before they actually had their report online.
Okay.
But that is the latest I have ever seen. And so I do have confidence that the report will appear.
Okay.
But we will just need to continue checking the website each day between now and next week, and hopefully within 1 week we will see the report there.
Okay.
But if we do not, we can be, you and I will have another reason to follow up with our colleagues at
Okay.
at the
That
Mexican
would help.
mission.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, as I've been checking, and you know, there is a slight report, but not what I was looking for.
Right, right.
So,
Just the short one, right?
very short report.
Yes,
So,
yes,
okay,
yes.
that
You can
helps.
expect something much more robust.
Comprehensive, right? Okay.
Yes, yes. So we will continue to watch for it, but I do believe it will be there.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions or difficulties with finding a government report? Yes, Francesca.
Please, it's not about finding the government report. I just want to know for our ongoing preparation, if you will have the link of all those PowerPoints you have, so that in our own time, we can, you know, just take time to go through it again, because it will help.
Sure, sure. I will make sure that all of the slides from the sessions that we have had together will be on the JCoR website, which has an event page for this program, and the whole program outline is there. And so there we will have a link to the set of slides from each of the calls. And if the previous calls are not there now, I will have them there by the end of today. And by later this week, I will also have all of the slides from today as well. So I will be sure to put them there, and I thank you for your dedication to preparation as well. That's, you know, very, very encouraging to hear that you are interested in reviewing the previous sessions. So thank you for that. Anyone else questions? Okay. So just as a reminder, you have seen these before, but just as a quick review, as you review the report from your government, some questions that may be helpful to ask as you read are, where does my own experience align with what I'm reading in the report? And then a second question, where does my experience conflict with the report? And then finally, what is absent from the report? What is missing? If I was the one being asked by government, how are we doing? How much progress have we made with respect to poverty or hunger or climate change mitigation? What would I have said that is not in this report at all? And so kind of organizing our thoughts into those three categories may be a helpful way to think about the report. If you have other ways that you want to reflect on it, you are very free to present your reflections in any way you like. But this is meant to be a helpful place to begin as you reflect. Okay, so now we are moving on from talking about the SDG Lab sessions, which are at the end of July, the week of the 22nd. Now we are going to move a little bit closer in time to the present moment, to the forum that is beginning just next week. And so I want to share with you some important pieces of what we call the JCoR guide to the 2024 HLPF. And this is a resource that we produce each year. It is currently available on the JCoR website in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and French. And I will show you the page where it is, and I will also put it in our chat box. And you can see it. This is I'm showing you some of the pages of the guide, not all of them, but it begins by offering a very basic introduction, which you all have learned already, to what the forum is, what the themes are for this year. It introduces in a basic way what the Sustainable Development Goals are. And it also talks about the outcomes that are expected from this year's forum. And so all of that is there because this is meant to be a tool not only for all of you who have completed this training and who have dedicated a lot of time and energy to preparing and learning about the forum, but this guide is also meant to help others to learn about the forum and to follow along with the process from wherever they are. So this is a tool that really can be shared with anyone in your congregations or partners in your ministry, anyone who you think may be interested in knowing that the forum is happening and who may even be interested in trying to follow some of the sessions online. This guide would be a helpful tool to give them a basic background and to point them to all of the specific places online where they can connect with the forum's proceedings. So I won't go into all of the details that are on these slides, but just to show you that it includes an introduction to each of the 5 thematic SDGs for this year, to invite people to understand these specific goals within the larger agenda of the UN. So there are pages for SDGs 1, 2, 13, 16, and 17. And in each one, there is a hyperlink at the bottom, which people can follow in order to learn more if they are very interested in that particular goal. And then we come to this very, very important logistics page of the guide. And these are really all of the key facts about when and where and how to engage with the events of the forum, especially for those who will not be in New York to attend events in person. This is really meant to help you who are following online. So as you can see, the events of the forum will start on the 8th of July and continue through the 17th of July. Almost all of the program is occurring in person at UN headquarters in New York, at least all of the kind of official program that is run by the UN and the governments themselves. There are some other components that are being led and sponsored by civil society organizations like ourselves. And so some of those are occurring outside of UN headquarters, but most of the program happens inside the UN. And what that means is that most of the program is available to watch on something called UN Web TV, which is a kind of like UN television that live streams most of the big meetings that happen at the UN throughout the year, not only during big conferences like this, but certainly you can follow the big conferences. So I'm going to pause again just to put that directly into the chat box because it's such an important website for you to remember. So that may be something you want to save for later if you intend to follow any of these sessions. It is WebTV, WEBTV .un.org. And again, within the guide, the link is right here. So this is an active link that will take you right there. And in a very similar way to when you join a Zoom call and you select which interpretation channel you want to listen in, UN Web TV has a very similar feature. So if you go to the bottom of the screen where you're seeing the video, you will see that there's a button to select different languages. And so you can then select, sometimes they don't have every UN language available, but for a big conference like this one, I expect they will have all 6 UN languages available, which means for those of us who are speaking Portuguese, you won't have that, unfortunately. But if you can understand Spanish, there will definitely be Spanish. That's one difficulty we work with. But anyway, you can follow most of the proceedings on that website. And I will pause to take us over to that screen briefly. Okay, so now you should be able to see, this is UN Web TV. You can see webtv.un.org up here. And this is what is happening right now. So let's just say, for example, there is a meeting of the Human Rights Council that is happening now. So if I scroll down, I can select what I want to see. If I scroll down further, I can see what is happening later today. And I can even click on this arrow over here to see through the rest of today and through tomorrow. And each of these I can click on and it will go to the page for that event. For the moment, just for the sake of seeing something that is live, I'm going to select this Human Rights Council meeting. And then once I'm on that page, click this big play button. And we can see this meeting is happening live. And I can select my language by clicking on this settings button here. And there you see you have an option for audio. And I'm on English by default, but I can change that. And now I am hearing in Spanish. I realize that you all cannot hear that because I have not shared my audio, but I promise the audio in my ears has shifted from English to Spanish. And again, the other UN languages are available here as well. So I just select from this list, and then I can hear in the language of my choice. And you can see it has kind of the same basic functions here as you would find on a YouTube channel. The play button kind of looks the same. You can adjust the volume. So very, very intuitive if you have ever watched any kind of video online or participated in Zoom calls like this one. And so throughout the HLPF, you can come to this site and find what meetings are happening now and watch them. You can also find meetings that happened in the past. All of these videos stay on this website in an archive. So if you are not available at the time that a meeting is happening, but you are very interested in that specific topic, you can come back and find the earlier or the more recent videos pretty easily from the main page. And if you scroll all the way down from that first page, you'll find the recently added videos. So that's where you will find events that are already concluded, but that just happened in the last day or two. So it's pretty easy to find those. If at any time during the forum, you find that you are looking for the video of our particular meeting and you're not able to find it on web TV, feel free to contact me and I will try to find a direct link that will take you directly to the video of the meeting that you are interested in. And so that way you can either find it live or find it afterward so that you don't miss anything that you really wanted to see. Okay, so just to return to the details of the program a little bit, some of the key points in the meeting that you might be interested in will be the very opening ceremony, which will be at 10 a.m. New York time on the 8th of July. And then from the 8th to the 11th of July, there will be panel discussions that will discuss the 5 priority SDGs. And then starting on the 12th of July and continuing on the second week, the 15th through the 17th, that is when we will start to hear from governments who are presenting their voluntary national reviews. And so that's when we get those quite short 10 to 15 minutes of presentation from each government, which of course is very much a summary. You know, they won't be able to say nearly as much in those presentations as they will in their written reports, which is why if you can, in addition to trying to watch your own government's live presentation of 10 to 15 minutes, it is really great if you can also take some time to review the written report, at least one piece of the written report, which will have much, much more detail to offer than the live presentation. But that being said, it is very helpful to watch the live presentations. Many of them now will include some kind of audio-visual presentation. There may be some video. So that it would be interesting to see as well. And after the government presentation, we'll be able to hear the response and the questions that come from other governments and from the selected representatives of civil society who are reacting or responding to the government presentation. So if you can look into the schedule to see when your government is reporting, that will be a very, very worthwhile piece of the forum to really try to find. Again, either live or afterward, find the video recording. And again, if you have trouble finding that, I will be happy to help you locate it. And then something else that's happening during those last days of the forum is there will also be some general debate, which is usually governments in a room together who are taking turns sharing their remarks or ideas on the subject of moving forward from the SDG Summit, which occurred last September, to the Summit of the Future, which is occurring this September. And each of those are kind of special events, special conversations that happen in connection with the annual reopening of the UN General Assembly. So you might be interested in that, but it is less relevant, I would say, than either the panel discussions or the presentation of VNRs that are happening earlier in the forum. And then another important thing to note, I mentioned not everything is part of the main program that is organized inside the UN. There are also many events being offered by civil society alongside that main program. And so there is a web page, which we have a link for right here in the guide, that offers a whole list of different events that are being offered by civil society. And some of those are only in person, but a lot of them are online or are hybrid, both online and in person. So for those who are joining the forum online, you will find a lot of events there that you would have access to if they are interesting to you. And let me show you. Oh, here is a link. We have direct links here to the VNR database pages for each of the governments that are reporting here this year. So this is one quick way for you to keep checking on the page where your government report should be. And here is another place where you can find, this can serve as one form of our flyer for the SDG Lab happening the following week. And here you can see we have an explanation of what the lab is, and we have the individual registration links for each day. So this could be one way, taking this page is something you could share with members of your congregation. And again, it is available in 4 languages. And then we have another page in the guide with a link here to recommended events. So within that long list of events that are being offered by civil society, JCoR has selected a few that may be especially interesting to all of you. And I will show you that page. just switch which screen I am sharing. Okay, so if you click on that link, you will come to this page of the JCoR website. And these are all the events that are being sponsored by at least one member of the JCoR coalition. We have, at this time, we're still adding events to this page because more events are being finalized, but already what we have here is an event on response to climate anxiety and cultivating resilience and hope in youth. We have an event on localizing the Sustainable Development Goals, which is going to present community perspectives and sharing of knowledge from the community level. And as you can see with each of these, we have the title of the event, the date and time, who is sponsoring, and then we have a link to register for it. There is another event related to the intersection of poverty, hunger, climate change, migration, and human trafficking. So quite a complex collection. Another event is a spotlight on religious NGOs who are implementing the Sustainable Development Goals. And then at the bottom, we again have all of the information regarding the SDG labs. So this is another page where you can refer people who you would like to invite to attend the SDG labs. And again, all of the important information about dates and time and the registration links for each session are all here. So let me now put a couple of links in the chat box. First link I'm adding now is recommended events. And then the next page I want to show you is where you can find the entire guide. So you may want to just click on those links now so that you have them available later. And just to show you, when you click on the link for the guide, it will take you to this general page. And if you scroll down, the first item in the list is the guide for the HLPF. We do have guides from past conferences below, so you'll see those, but the one at the very top is the one for this forum. And you can see there are links here for the 4 different language versions. And then for anyone with low vision, we also have a simple text-only version that's available here in English. So that's an important tool. And I will also share these useful links to the guide in my follow-up email from today. So you will also have them saved in your email box too. And then one final piece of that guide that I want to share with you is we have a page on social media advocacy. And this includes a list of different accounts on Twitter or Facebook that may be helpful to follow, because these are accounts that are connected with either JCoR or different parts of the UN that are leading this forum. And so they will be sharing a lot of different information and content that will be relevant to what is happening in the forum. So if you are someone who is involved with social media, then this may be a useful way for you to follow the forum as well. Okay, before I move on to our next steps, anyone have any questions about the logistics of the forum or how you can follow different pieces of the events that will be offered? Okay, I don't see. Oh, okay, one hand, Maricruz.
I have a question about the VNR of Mexico. I'm in touch with the civil society organizations that are preparing the answer. And the VNR won't be published on the web page until later in July, because on the 10th, 11th of July, the government is going to present the VNR here in the capital in Mexico City in a big way. It's a big event, and so they won't be handing it over to the UN until that event happens, because I know that because I've been following up on this. And this is the information I wanted to share with you. And I can share what this great event or big event is going to be in New Mexico. In Mexico City.
That's great. Thank you very much, Maricruz, for that insight. How wonderful that you are very informed, because you have been linked with this civil society group. So that's good information for Maria and anyone else who is joining us from Mexico, to know that don't expect to see the report from Mexico online until after the 11th of July. And Maricruz, if there is, if you have if there's a website or some kind of written information about, for anyone who may be in Mexico City, who may want to try to follow this big event that is happening for the presentation of the report. If you have any information you can share with us about that, you can either, it could go in the chat box, or if you send it to me later, I will make sure that we share it with everyone in the delegation.
It is in July 10th. So the publication will be probably on July 10th.
Okay, very good. That's very good to know. Thank you for that update. Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa. Good morning, everyone. I just want to know if these groups, JCoR's delegates, joining the NGO major groups and speak on behalf of NGO groups on their at the VNR sessions of their country. So that's want to know about that.
So it sounds like we have at least one person, Maricruz, has been involved with the team from Mexico. And I know there have also been a few of our delegates have been involved with the team who will respond to the government of Zimbabwe. Are there any other delegates here who have been working with the team from civil society in your country who is going to give the live response to your government on the day that the government presents to the UN? Has anyone else been involved in that? Wonderful, thank you. And I'm glad you could come back, Marta. Anyone else been involved with that effort for your own country? Okay, so it looks like, at least for those who are here today, Paul, it looks like the answer is we have been connected to the VNR teams from Mexico, Zimbabwe, and Spain. But there may be others, since I know not nearly all of our delegates are here at this moment. But we know we are at least involved in those three. Oh, and thank you. Sister Immaculate has informed me that she has also been connected with the team for Uganda. So we have at least one connection to the team responding to Uganda as well. That's wonderful. Very, very exciting to hear. I'm so happy that you all were able to make those connections. That's really excellent and very exciting.
Yeah, thank you for that information.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, looks like we've had some attempts to contribute to Ecuador as well. So there may be some challenges there. Okay, and thank you. Maricruz has shared some information for those from Mexico. Maricruz has shared information in the chat box about the special presentation that will be made by the government of Mexico on the 10th of July. So if you are interested in knowing more about that, then please be sure to see that message from Maricruz in the chat box. Okay, so now we will finish up with just reviewing our next steps. Okay, for those of you who are coming from Latin America and from Africa, you will be receiving an email from me within a few hours after this call ends, inviting you to select a day and time next week for another call with other delegates from your region, as you may want to discuss what you have been reading from either your government's report or what you have read from other civil society organizations in your region. And so these calls will be an opportunity to simply have some discussion with others from your region about your initial reactions. So you could almost consider this a way of preparing or practicing or organizing your thoughts as you look ahead to offering kind of more formal comments in the SDG Lab. But this call will just be an informal conversation where maybe you can share some reaction and some emotion in response to what you are reading from your governments. So after I send that email, we'll ask you to reply by Thursday to share what day and time would be possible for you to participate in that call. And then after that, I will remind you to be sure that you register yourselves for the JCoR SDG Lab. Again, those 5 separate links, which you can find in our written guide and on our website. And to continue preparing what you would like to contribute to the JCoR SDG Lab, including submitting that form saying which session you want to participate in. Please do that today if you have not already done so. And then also be sure to look for your government's written report on the VNR database. If you have not already seen it, be sure to look that up and find it. And if you have any trouble finding it, please inform me and I will help you locate it. And for those in Mexico, we know you will need to wait until the 11th of July, unfortunately. So be sure to set a reminder for yourself for July 11th to try again to find the report. And then I hope that you will all review and share the JCoR guide, which I have just shared with you. And share it with all the members of your congregation or your network who you think may have some interest in following any part of the high-level political forum. And then come July 8th, attend as much of the HLPF program as you are able. But particularly trying to be sure that you are able to see the live presentation or the video recording of the presentation of your government's voluntary national review. And then just one quick reminder, beyond all of the many events of July, I want to remind you all that we will have one more call like this, just with all of us delegates on the 5th of August at the same time as usual, same time as today. And that will be a chance for all of us to kind of reflect on the crazy month of July and all of the ideas that we heard, all of the reports that we heard and the experiences that we had, and also to reflect on this training program as a whole, so that we who are here on the JCoR team can continue to improve it for future years. So please make sure that you have that date saved in your calendar. After all of this very, very busy month of July, remember there's one more meeting with this group on the 5th of August. Are there any final questions before we sign off for today? Yes, Francesca.
Teresa, I just want to say thank you to you for the dedication you have taken to, lead us so gently and so committedly through all this session. For me, what I have learned is not just for the coming activities in New York, but I have learned a whole lot of other things that will help me in the navigation of the system. As I also work in Geneva, sometimes it's quite difficult and quite daunting, but I've learned a lot. So thank you. Thank you, Teresa. It's been nice meeting with everybody, and so thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Francesca. That's very, very kind, and I appreciate your presence and your dedication as well. It would all be for nothing if you weren't all here and so enthusiastic and willing to make time, even though I know you have no extra time. There is no extra time, but you are finding time somewhere to be able to add one more thing into your very, very busy, full lives. And that comes from your own passion and dedication to creating change in your respective countries and in our world as a whole. And so I am so grateful that you are willing to take the time to contribute your extremely valuable voices to this work. You all have so much more to contribute than I can. So I feel very happy to sit here only to facilitate all of that flow of rich information from all of you. So thank you. Okay, if there are no questions, then you can expect to see emails from me, again, with all of the resources that we shared today, the important links to different documents, especially the JCoR guide, which will really support you throughout all of the days of the HLPF. And please remember, you can contact me anytime between now and our next gathering for the SDG Labs. If you are having trouble following or finding something you want to access in the HLPF events, please let me know and I will try to help you locate whichever event or video you would like to see. But thank you all again for your valuable time, and I look forward to being with some of you in person and some of you virtually as we continue through this very busy month. But congratulations on making it this far, and now it's time to really enjoy the forum that we have been preparing for so long. So good luck to all, and have fun and listen well. And for those who will have the chance to speak during the forum itself, I wish you all the best for that, and I will be looking for your contributions. See you all soon.
Yes, Lisa, thank you and bye.
Thank you very much, Teresa.